some students live would be really upset. Delana, welcome. Nice to see you. So before we get into our guest expert, which is none other than that handsome gentleman, Josh Phelan over there, you guys know how we roll, just starting off with these first off calls. So we want to know your guys' wins. So we dropped that actually in the chat. So if you guys can just go over there really quick, we'll do 2 minutes, put 2 minutes on the clock, and then we'll just go from there.
Yep. So we'll play some tunes, guys, so you guys can have some fun with that. So 2 minutes, put your guys' wins, lessons learned.
All right.
I don't know about that music, team. I'm looking for some new stuff on Spotify. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm open for it. But that stuff, I don't know.
Chris is a
It's
horrible
not getting me
DJ.
pumped up.
All right, let's read some of these off. Thank you guys for sharing. So Walter, new customers signed up this morning. Well done, sir. Aisha, another sign up. Skincare line almost ready to launch. Yes. Alex, I finished creating my first 8-week program. My first client finally started. Hell yeah. Renato, first week officially fully dedicated to my business, created good quality content, created CRM, formed a good system around mailing lists, got a lot of raised hands and jumped on a couple calls. Blessed from the support my family is giving me, both personal and the dynamic family. Love it. Nick, client down 4 pounds in first week and even attended social outing Saturday. Have 2 consults set up for week's end. Signed up to the accelerator program. All wins. Yes. Sean, controlling my schedule, starting this program, continuing the momentum. Right on, guys.
And real quick, Renato, did you put your 2 weeks notice in? Is that right?
There you go. I'm actually completely out. I'm done.
Okay, guys, unmute right now and let's give Renato a bow down.
Got it. No problem.
Thank you.
Great work.
I'm dedicated now.
Awesome job.
Right on. Cool.
All right, guys. So we are going to start our guest training. So I'm going to spotlight Josh for everybody. All right, Josh. So guys, this is Josh Phelan. He's over in Orange County, California, and Josh was actually our life coach 5 years ago. So it was honestly just like an awesome journey, kind of just being, with Josh, and just, we learned so much, guys. Like, this is one of the reasons why we have mind growth as one of the 4 pillars in our genius model, because everything we probably learned was like a lot of it from Josh, and he got us started on really building like that 6-pack in the brain and really just becoming a better overall entrepreneur. So Josh, thanks so much for just everything you showed us and your mentorship. And I'm just excited for you just just share some of this wisdom and experience with our students of this program.
I echo all that.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks so much. That means a lot just hearing that. That's really cool. I love it.
Yeah. Well, Josh, the floor is yours. So yeah, let us know if you need anything, but we'll just be quiet right now and, we'll let you do your thing.
Excellent. So as I said, my name is Josh Phelan. I actually have a big background in the fitness industry. I'm still personal training clients and stuff as well. Over 13 years now going on. And yes, I've been doing life coaching since 2014. And to be clear, today's talk is about creating balance in your life. I'm not perfect at this. I am still working on this. And anybody who does tell you that they have it all together is probably lying to you. So let's get that out of the way. But I am a student of these kind of things. As you can see, here's a couple of my books behind me. A lot of it's very self-development or business marketing, kind of is like probably the top three that most of these books behind me are about. And so it's just been years of, figuring stuff out on my own as one way, but also reading books like this that, we can kind of take these shortcuts and learn from other people that have experienced these things, or have, an ideal life or part of the life that we want to emulate. So that's basically what I'm trying to do here with you today. Is I would just want to share some nuggets. Hopefully there are at least 2 or 3 takeaways from today for you that resonate with you, that you can implement, that actually, really start to create ripples of effect throughout your life. That's my big goal. Some of these things may not really resonate with you, but they'll probably resonate with somebody else. So bear with me as I unfold and unpack this for you today. So the first thing I wanted to start with is just kind of removing those misconceptions about balance. I think there's a lot of examples throughout, nature and stuff, as far as what balance kind of looks like. Take for the simple example, when you stand on one leg, or when you're training a client and they're standing on one leg and you have them stand there for a long period of time, or try to, you're going to notice there's muscles that are twitching and they're trying to, counteract each other. And one's trying to relax and the other one's tightening up again. And so I think balance is very, very much like that. It's not this 100% Zen all the time. It's not each day is going to be perfect or great or even good necessarily. I would encourage you, zoom out, look at the bigger picture, because it's similar to how the stock market might fluctuate. Day to day might go super crazy. One day is great, one day is terrible, but over a long period of time, most of us that do invest are looking, over the long term to see, hopefully a steady return, fingers crossed. And that's kind of what I want you to think about for balance in creating that in your life, because day to day, it might not all be the same. Day to day, it might, you might have some excellent days and other days are not going to be so great. And unfortunately, chances are you probably have a lot of problems coming your way over the next couple of years. That's okay. It's not necessarily being prepared for them. It's you becoming a person that's able to handle them. Okay. So I don't think it should be necessarily our request that we have all of the tools necessary to handle these things. It's more so that we become the person that is able to adapt to these different situations that do arise. So anyway, that's kind of the first thing I wanted to unpack, is just that idea that you're not going to be, Zen 100% of the time, or that you're not going to have everything necessarily equal. There's going to be give and take. One story that I heard from a mentor that I really loved was just a simple idea that when he was working on a book, he was very upfront with his wife and kids. And he told them, hey, look, guys, over these next few weeks, I'm probably not going to be the best dad or the best husband because, my publisher has a very strict deadline that this needs to be done by. And I'm going to be, burn the candle at both ends. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to have to invest much more of my time into this. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to balance, okay? There's going to be seasons where it's going to be a little harder. There's going to be times where you might need to really put your foot on the gas pedal and go for it. But then we need to be careful. We also need to refuel properly, okay? And I'll get to that later. But that's a big part of it as well. And another thing too, now as a father, I have a 4-year-old and almost a 2-year-old at this point, both boys. And I guarantee you, over a long enough timeline, your priorities will probably going to change. For most people, that's normal, okay? Sometimes work might be your number one priority until you realize you let your health slide, then your health becomes your number one priority. Or your relationships start to become in shambles, and then you realize, oh, maybe I should, invest some more time into those. So what I want to do is just help you to create clarity in your life, help you to create and find some balance, and give you some strategies that are going to help make this wish become a reality. All right. So let's begin. First thing I want you to hopefully write down is, what are your priorities right now? If you're completely honest with yourself, what are your top priorities? And the two easiest ways to look at this is, where are you spending the most dollars on right now, and where are you spending the most time? Okay. Chances are, for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, a lot of that time can be spent with our work, with our business. It's, most of us start these businesses as passion projects. We start because we realize, hey, there's these gifts that I have that I can use to help other people's lives. And it usually is going to come from a really good, pure place, essentially. It shouldn't necessarily be to make the money, because money is the blood of the business, essentially. You need that, otherwise you don't have one. So that's for another time. But so I want you to get really clear on, what are your top priorities. Maybe it is health, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's leaving a legacy, or after the lockdown, the quarantine, maybe you want some adventure, you want to get out, you want to go exploring. I mean, we went to Redondo Beach last weekend, we're going to be going up to Big Bear next weekend. We're kind of itching to go to more places now, and so that's become a priority for my family and I for this summer. Is we have a couple more places we want to go to. And again, your priorities are going to change. There's different seasons in life. There's just different times where things are going to come up that you're going to realize, okay, well, we only have this much time to squeeze these things in if we want to get them done. And so we need to be very real with where our priorities lie and what the calendar says, and what our other responsibilities are to not only our business, but our other relationships in our life as well. And also, when we're talking about priorities, part two of that is, what outcomes are you after? Okay, so if, let's say, health is your priority, let's use that as a simple example. What outcome do you want? What specifically are you trying to get out of that? Okay, because the reason why we want to really dial that in is, a foggy brain is not really going to take action. When you get clarity, when you are crystal clear on what it is you want, you're going to take more action. You're going to feel way more motivated. You're going to get way more excited. You're going to want to share it with more people, because you know exactly what you need to do next. That's a big part I want you to really, chew on and think about. Okay. And then, this wasn't really part of today, but I want to jump into this a little bit, is I want you to go 7 layers deep. If you're struggling with that motivation, if you know, okay, well, my health should become a priority, or my finances, or whatever that issue is that you want to create as a priority for your life, you want clarity on what the outcome is, but then why? Why do you want that outcome? Okay. A simple formula for this is, ask yourself why 7 times. Okay. So a lot of us has probably asked this before with clients, why do you want to lose weight? And they simply say some BS answer. They want to feel better. They don't want the knees to ache or something, or the back to not feel so terrible when they pick up their kids or something like that. And then you start digging a little bit deeper, and you're like, oh, okay, why don't you want your back hurt to pick up your kids? And you start getting a little bit more emotional answers. And usually the magic number lies somewhere around 7, where you're going to start to realize, oh, that's the real emotional reason as to why you want to be able to do that. Because, we have the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, basically one is going to be our rational logic side of our brain. The other part's going to be, the part that's going to freak out and get us to run away and things like that, fight or flight. And it's very emotional. Okay. It's very emotionally charged. And so they kind of balance each other out. But as much as we like to think we're really smart and that we make really logical decisions for ourselves and for our loved ones, for our future, a lot of times we make some of our biggest decisions in life over emotion. That's why this part is so critical. We got to know the root. What is it that we're really, really after? Even this morning, I was training a group of collegiate athletes, volleyball players. One of them asked me, I just fell out of love with volleyball. Like, what should I do? And I suggested this, or even simply, hey, it might just be that your priorities change. Maybe this is also, and I don't know her that well, but I suggested, I was like, hey, maybe you just need to confide in somebody, whether it's a family member or a loved one or a friend that just knows you better, knows more of your history. Maybe it's just time for you to pivot. And that's all this could be too. This could be a revelation, a moment for you to realize, hey, maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe you do need to place your priority elsewhere. Maybe you do need to put some more time, some more energy, some more effort into something else that is actually of utmost importance right now. Okay. So we got to get clear with that. And now, as far as like just overall balance, let's say your weeks feel pretty chaotic right now. You don't feel like your energy is really great, or your sleep's really dialed in, or you feel this inner turmoil going on. Here's the one lovely question I'd like to ask you. You could snap your fingers and 30 days from now, fast forward, and you have your week just dialed in. Okay. It's not, out of touch with reality. We're talking only about a month away. But let's say through some trial and error over the next couple of weeks, you figure it out and you have it dialed in. So fast forward a month from now, your week is dialed in. Okay. And I think a week is a pretty good timeline for most of us because, chances are not every single day is going to be identical. At least for me, I know it's not. Monday is completely different than Tuesdays. Tuesdays looks different than Wednesdays and so forth. So I would like to think of, or have you try to think of what that week would look like. And the reason for this too is if you're working 5 or 6 days a week or so, I really want you to make sure that you're getting time in to refuel, to recharge. Okay. And for the weekends, I mean, there's a 3-part recipe for that I'll get into a little bit later. But that's something that can really help you to figure out what components do I want to have in my week. Hopefully you have a good morning routine to start the day. Okay. Hopefully you have, some writing time. Maybe I'm a huge fan of journaling personally. I always try to kind of push that onto people, but if that's not your thing, that's okay. Please find something else that fuels you as much as that kind of helps me, because thinking helps me to slow down my thought process, get more clarity. Also just kind of process through some things. If not for journaling over the past 10 plus years, I really think I'd be a completely different person without it. And with that said, I have a new kind of life theory, I guess, if you want to call it that. And that is about 99% of the time in life, we have a chance to practice. Each day is filled with opportunities, right? We've heard these cheesy cliches before. But I really think that 99% of the time, it's practice. Only 1% are really tested, really tried, really have our feet to the fire, and we're seen, or we're shown perhaps, what we're made of. Like I love the analogy where this father brings his daughter down to the kitchen and he puts on a pot of water with some potatoes in there, and then he puts some with some eggs in there, and then he puts some with some water, and he has them going. And then finally the daughter kind of snaps and she's like, what the heck, what is all this for? Like, why and she's going through a hard time. The dad's trying to help, and he finally says, he goes, honey, look, you're going to go through some things. You're going to go through some challenges, some hard times in life. We all do. Okay. It's not that some are necessarily easier or harder. Let's not even look at that way. It's just different. We have different challenges. Okay. We all have our struggles, but between the potato, the egg, and the water, he said, you can let these challenges turn you out like a potato after being cooked in the water, get softer. Okay. Or like the egg, now it's hard. Okay. And now you become a harder person, maybe a little bit bitter. Okay. Not so great. Or perhaps with the water, you poured it over some coffee, or poured it over some ground up coffee beans to make some coffee in a French press. And he goes, or you can become better. Okay. So there's going to be challenges. I promise you that. You're going to face some stuff. but it's how we handle that. So each time, think each day when you're trying to seek this thing called balance in your life and you're trying to go for that, think of it this way. Just like when we go to the gym, we're putting those reps in. Each day you get a chance to put more reps in. How are you practicing patience? How are you practicing kindness, or whatever characteristic traits or attributes that you're striving for? If you're trying to become more generous, or trying to become more caring, or trying to work on your relationships or your communication, each day is a chance to work on that. Okay, to put in those reps, to put in that practice, because there's going to come a time, I promise you that you're going to have your feet put to the fire and you will be tested. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really challenging. There's going to be, perhaps it's a person or a client that's going to push your buttons, and you get a chance to really practice these things that you've been working on. So that's my 2 cents with the 99% theory versus 1% of life being test. Next steps moving forward as far as creating balance. 2 things I think that are not really spoken about in regards to this idea of finding or creating balance, that I don't think anybody really talks about or shares, that I've come to learn both from other mentors, older and smarter and wiser than me, and also through my own experience. And these 2 are actually things I'm really been trying to work on for my own sons as well, developing that with them. But one is forgiveness. As silly as it sounds, I think if you're trying to really hold on to a grudge or something, it can be detrimental to not only your relationship, but more recent science has proven it can be detrimental to your actual physical well-being, to your actual health. Okay. So my suggestion to you, let's try to learn from other people's mistakes. I promise you're not going to live long enough to make them all yourself. So if you're able to move past, it's actually a huge productivity hack, because guess what happens when you're still holding on to a grudge or an anger or something, some sort of resentment, something that happened before or a long time ago or even yesterday? It's taking up space in your brain. It's taking up energy. It's taking up your vital resources of attention that you have. You're allowing that person to basically, take up space in your brain, free rent. And it's actually costing you. That's a part that people don't understand. That frustrates me. If you are holding on to a grudge or have bitterness or anger towards somebody, that's hurting you more than it's hurting them, I promise. And the second part of this is going to be the gratitude. And that's just a simple practice I think all of us would hugely benefit from. Again, the science backs this up, that when you are in a state of gratitude, when you are genuinely thankful for something, you cannot be fearful at the exact same time, because guess what? They take up the same space in your brain. So if you can practice gratitude, guess what else starts to happen? You start thinking better. You start thinking more clearly, because you're not being held back by fear. You're not being held back by these self-doubts and these what ifs that usually creep up. And we all have them. I still do. It still happens. But if we cultivate, we practice gratitude more often, guess what's going to happen? I guarantee you're going to come up with better ideas. I guarantee you're going to be able to problem solve better, because the science proves it. If you can get to a state where you feel overwhelming sense of gratitude, and this does take practice. It's not something that may not happen the very first time you try doing this if you're new to this. But if you can get to the point where you can genuinely express gratitude, it can be by yourself, in your journal, through prayer. You can send a text, send an email, send a Facebook, whatever. Reach out, share what it is that you're grateful for, and try to be super specific, not just, hey, love you, glad you're in my life, hope you have a great day, bye. No. Very specific. What have they done for you? What have you shared with them? What experience has brought you together? Just seriously, expressing gratitude is such a game changer. One of the biggest ones that goes unrecognized most times. So I would highly encourage you to work on that. And one thing I've been chewing on recently for the past couple of weeks, ever since I heard it, was comparison is the thief of joy. Consider that for a moment. How often do we do that? We have something good, maybe even something great or excellent, superb, whatever word you'd like to use. But it might be something really great in our lives, and we ruin it just by simply comparing. We say, oh, well, this was good until I saw theirs. I liked this until this came along and I realized, that's better. So just be grateful what you have. Okay. And if you're struggling to consider things to be thankful for, here's a good practice a mentor taught me. Consider if you woke up tomorrow with everything you are not grateful for today. Chances are you're going to have a really long list because you're going to think, man, I want my bed tomorrow. I want a roof over my head. I want clothes in my closet. I want fruit in the fridge. I want fresh air. I want clean water. This list goes on and on and on. We have a lot to be thankful for, especially if you're fortunate enough to be watching this. I guarantee you got a long, long list. Okay. Those are kind of the first two I wanted to get out of the way that most people don't really consider as far as next steps. Anyway, next part I want to get into is getting into a peak state of mind. And this can be done in a multitude of ways. For me personally, what I've been doing lately is cold shower as soon as I wake up. And when I talk peak state, this can be done anytime throughout the day, but I would encourage you try to put this first. Okay, because when you first wake up in the morning, those first 20 or 30 minutes, your brain is in different wavelengths, and it's essentially the easiest way to be able to reprogram your brain. Excuse me. So if you realize that you're kind of fallen into a rut mentally and you have the same self-defeating thoughts or same mindset that you're kind of struggling with, cold showers can help to change your state very, very quickly and also wake you up. Thank you, Wim Hof. If you don't know him, look him up. A lot of podcasts, people have interviewed him. But he can tell you more about all of the benefits behind cold water. But another thing, as far as reprogramming your brain, is going to be affirmations or visualizations in the morning. And so these are simply just positive ways to be able to say good things about yourself to yourself. And one of the big parts too with this is that you want to try to get as much emotion involved as well, because your brain also has a BS detector. So if you keep on essentially lying to yourself, your brain's, going to struggle with that a little bit. Okay. So we want to try to get the emotion in there, realize, okay, we do have these past wins. We do have these things that we have done before very well. We're looking for truths in our lives that support the path that we're on and what we're trying to take. So again, going back to that health example, yes, your health might not be in absolute peak it's been in the past or what have you. But one thing that we can say about ourselves are things that we have done in our past that are true about ourselves. So we're not necessarily lying. And we're going to essentially help our mindset to course correct by doing simple things like this. Gratitude, again, is another great way to help get you into that peak state. Exercise obviously helps. Anything where you're going to be adjusting your core temperature, either colder or much warmer, it can help you get there or get into a better or peak state. But the big idea is to get into a peak state of mind, because when you're operating from there, everything else is just going to flow so much better. You're going to be able to get into a state of flow better. You're going to be able to problem solve better. You're going to be able to serve your clients better. You're going to have better communication, more clarity with your thought, because now you're in a beautiful state of mind. That's the concept. Okay. And also with that, I want to share with you some strategies as far as protecting that mindset. My dad always just drilled it into our heads ever since we were this big. And that is trash in equals trash out. So you got to be careful with those inputs that we're putting into our minds. So if we're listening to garbage, if we're watching garbage, if we're, around energy vampires, I'm sure we've all heard that terminology by now. People that just seem to suck the life out of you after you spend too much time with them. But some people can be, an hour is too much. But we need to be very careful about protecting that mindset. What is it that we're talking about? What is it that we're thinking about? And the first step with that is just simply becoming aware. Awareness is the foundational step that we need to kind of have with this. Because if you're not aware of just simply the thoughts that you're thinking and you're going very much on autopilot, chances are you may end up with your ladder leaning against the wrong building and you're just keep on trying to climb up that ladder. You realize when you get to the top, oh, I should have put this ladder elsewhere. Okay, so we need to be careful about what it is that we're putting into our mindset. Let's not go on autopilot. Let's not just try to go with the flow, do what everybody else is doing. We're trying to make a difference in people's lives. That's why you're Fit Pros. That's why you're here. That's why you've invested in yourself with Chris and Eric. Okay, you know you're meant to help people. You know you're meant to serve people. You know you have these gifts inside of you to be able to help make real change and impact in other people's lives. But if you're not careful in protecting this, then who knows how well you're going to be able to really serve from there? Who knows how well you're going to be able to, deliver great results for your clients? Because if this isn't well protected, if this isn't well managed, that can just pour out into other areas of our life. Okay, so we need to first, step one, become aware. Step two, check out what those inputs are. What are we putting into our mind? What are we listening to? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? What's our circle of genius look like? What kind of books are we reading? Okay, these things all matter. Okay, so we need to be very, very just aware of that and work on dialing that in. And the third part is just simply reflecting. Okay, because if you start realizing, man, I just feel like I've been in a funk lately. I just can't get it. I can't shake it. Little reflection time, a little time to think, a little time to just ask some thought-provoking questions. You can peel back the layers real fast and realize what the problem is. Okay, so reflection is a huge thing, and something I would encourage everyone to do a little bit more of, because yes, there are people smarter than us and wiser than us that we can ask for and get help from, and coaches and mentors. And I would definitely encourage you to do so and take those steps and getting, the proper mentors and coaches and people that you would like to seek help from. Yes, yes, yes. Please do those things. Those are great things. But you have a lot to learn from yourself as well. There's so many lessons, so many. If we just peel back, if we just start looking back at some of our previous experiences, chances are our life is riddled with lessons. Because here's the thing, life and school are completely backwards. School gives you all the lessons, then gives you a test at the end. Life is a test. And if you don't pass, it'll come back later. You'll have to retake that test. Okay. And you learn the lesson afterwards. So that's a big part, is we really need to, really just need to protect that mindset and be prepared. And then in regards to protection, I also want to talk about protecting that energy, and specifically creating boundaries within work and social media. So social media, I feel like that one's almost a little bit easier if we're able to outsource that, because then you can just simply pay to have that kind of managed for you. Obviously, you want to keep an eye on the content and help with the production, perhaps. But if you can outsource your social media, I would 100% recommend it. If not, you should probably delete it. If you're not able to pay somebody to outsource it for you and do that, chances are you might not want to be on there. That's kind of a half joke. But yeah, as an entrepreneur, we should be creators. We should be the ones trying to influence others, not just necessarily intaking and listening and accepting, all this other stuff that people are trying to push onto us through social media. Okay. So that's a big one. We want to definitely try to keep a boundary with that. And then also, as far as with work, a lot of times what happens as entrepreneurs is this doesn't stop. We just keep thinking about it. We ruminate on work. We are constantly just thinking, okay, here's another business idea. Oh, okay. So with work, we're just, as entrepreneurs, this doesn't stop, right? So a big part of that I've learned, that I really, really think helps very, very well, is to have a very specific plan on where you're going to pick up from where you left off. Okay. Remember, the brain loves clarity. Don't do vague bullet points. Don't do vague instructions. Try to get crystal clear. Okay. So for me, what this looks like and what I've been practicing and what I've implemented and shared with other clients in the past is simply 1 to 3 top priorities each day. Okay. You can have your laundry list, your to-do list. If you still want to keep those, I have nothing against that. But I'm talking needle moving things. Okay. So when you get back to work the following day, you should have 1 to 3 top items. These should be done as soon as you're possibly able to get them done. That's how you're going to consistently keep on moving the needle each and every day. And also, it's going to help you to actually unplug from work because you're going to know exactly what the next steps are. So your brain doesn't have to keep on thinking over and over and ruminating on what that process is going to look like or what else you need to get done the next day, because it already knows clearly, these are my priorities. This is what is next. And if it's not the top priority, you can have it written down elsewhere for your brain to relax and know, okay, we have a plan, because that's what the brain really wants to know. If it's not being taken care of right now, your brain wants to know, when are we going to take care of this? Because this is bugging the crap out of me and I can't sleep because of this. Okay. I'm totally guilty of this. There's been multiple times my wife has had to kick me out of bed. She's like, I'm not sleeping. Get up, go write. 9 pages later, might be some other stuff, not necessarily work related or whatever, but yeah, both back and forth. So yeah, definitely write some stuff down, get that out of your head. I promise that'll help you. Okay, so talking about protecting your energy, having boundaries. We talked about work and social media boundaries. One more thing in regards to that energy, and this isn't necessarily for boundaries, but this is going back to that concept of what that 1 week is going to look like. When you have that week dialed in, what does it ideally look like? So I'd like to throw out a hypothetical, and you can write down your answer another time, but maybe save this question to really chew on. And that is, let's say your retirement starts Monday. This coming Monday, you're retired, don't have to work. You have no work. Okay. No clients, no nothing. You have plenty of income to be able to support your lifestyle. Okay. Just leave it at that. Try not to get too detailed as far as the money goes. But let's say your retirement starts on Monday. What do you fill your first week with? What do you do at that time? The reason for this question is chances are when you start answering this question honestly, you start realizing there's some other things beyond work, beyond what you're probably currently doing, that you probably want or need more of in your life. I threw this question out to somebody recently who loves to play drums. They're a drummer. They don't have a drum set with them. They've bought multiple drum sets in the past. They gave the last one away to somebody, but they don't play. They love it. And I was like, well, don't you think you should do something about that? Because going back to protecting your energy, we need to not just have boundaries to protect us. We need to have things that refuel us, that recharge us, that send us back better, that send us back a better human being, a better coach, a better person to serve from. Because if you're not fully charged, if you're not taken care of, it's going to be a lot harder to really serve at a big level, to really help more people. So take care of those things. For me, one of the ones most people are not going to guess, I enjoy woodworking. I do it as a hobby. I've built a lot of things, and it's not an every single week thing or every weekend or anything like that, but it's something that is very regular in my life. Okay. So we need to build those things in. What are those other components that we're lacking, that we're missing out on, that do help us refuel in a different way? That, maybe it's creativity and it turns your business brain off, if you will, and you start to fuel another outlet. Maybe it is music, maybe it is art, but there's chances are there's going to be something else in there that we're not doing that we should be. And I promise you, it is not Netflix and chill. Okay. Yeah, let's not even think that's the answer. And then lastly, last section is just kind of like moving forward. Where do we go from here? Okay. We've unpacked quite a bit here. Last thing I want you to kind of mull over is just simply reflecting. So when we, fill out what that week looks like, fill out what those priorities are, what we need, we have clarity on it. Okay. Now, actually after doing it, after implementation of it, okay, so let's say next week or two, we start playing around, we start trying to change and adjust and trying to seek more balance in our life. Let's reflect. What's working? What's not? Okay. We need to get clear on these things because there might be a period of trial and error. That's how we learn. That's okay. You're probably not going to get it 100% correct the first time. Okay. So be willing to try. Be willing to fail forward. All right. But let's ask what's working, what's not. And another thing is let's ask for help. Okay. That's why you guys have Chris and Eric. They are helping you. They are a resource for you. Okay. So let's ask for help within our community, within our family, our friends, this dynamic in a circle. Where do we need help? Where can we seek help? Let's get it. Okay. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Put that in perspective. You know, Michael Jordan, my opinion, greatest basketball player of all time. And he had a multitude of coaches that helped him throughout his career. All right. How much more do the rest of us need coaches? We need other people. Stop trying to do this stuff on your own. Stop letting your ego get in the way of your growth. Ego, everyone's greatest obstacle. That's a little acronym for you. Maybe not for every single person, but large majority of us struggle with that. So please ask for help. If you're struggling to create balance, if you're still struggling with that energy or with that mindset and protecting that and having those boundaries, ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that. We all need a little help. We all should be asking for more help, if anything. And another piece of that is also get accountability. Accountability doesn't necessarily have to be done to the point where you feel terrible or demotivated or, like a dog with a tail between its legs. There's accountability shouldn't equal shame. Accountability is simply, hey, did you do what you say you're going to do? Okay. And there should be some sort of celebration or reward for doing it. And also perhaps a consequence for not. All right. But accountability is something that all human beings can thrive on because guess what? When we were all little kids, our parents told us to brush our teeth, eat our vegetables, maybe make our bed or clean up our toys and all these other things. And so throughout childhood, you thrived on accountability. We all had it. We were called out on our crap if we didn't do it. And guess what? Most adults, now we don't have that accountability. We can go to the grocery store ourselves and get all the ice cream we want. And a lot of people just fall into these patterns, these same ones over and over. That's why we have a lot of unhealthy adults. We don't have accountability. We don't have to necessarily answer to many people. But when you look at some of the most top performers in their industries, you look at some of these top CEOs, they have the most ridiculous amount of accountability that you could possibly have. Many of them, not all, but they have board members who, that they're responsible to. And they have their employees, and they have the shareholders, and they have their family, and the list goes on and on and on. There is accountability. Chances are many of them have coaches and stuff and people that are helping them. So the more layers of accountability that we can provide for ourselves, chances are the more growth we're also going to have for ourselves. Okay. And I'll leave you with this and then I'm done. And that is, this is how my wife and I keep very real accountability. And we always try to do this on Friday evenings, and we'll just we have a big whiteboard at home. We just kind of go down the list and fill these in and then discuss them. And we actually always set a timer for about 20 minutes, just so we're not, drawing this out. So it takes about 20 minutes for us. And this is our accountability meeting. We start with, what energy are you coming with? Okay. Second, what are the wins that you have from the past week? It's a weekly meeting. Okay. So what wins do you have from this past week? Third, how are you going to celebrate those wins? It can be something little. It can be, little massage or maybe a break from the kiddos or something. But we'll do, smaller celebrations such as that. And then lessons slash ahas, I should say. So what are those maybe lessons that you learned from this past week, something that you were maybe gently reminded of by life, or through a client or friend or family member, but there's some sort of lesson, some sort of real takeaway, because again, this goes back to reflection. What did we learn from this past week? If we haven't learned, have we really grown? Isn't that kind of all the goal for all of us? We want to keep growing, right? And then number 5, what are your priorities? So these are the things that, what are your needle moving priorities? We keep this list real short. We try to max it out, maybe 5. But this is for the upcoming week, but the top utmost importance priorities. So between 1 to 5 top priorities. And then finally end it with the timeline, which is simply just next Friday's date. But that's how we run it, and it works really well. So I'd like to leave you with that to chew on. If you wanted to perhaps plug that accountability meeting into your own life with a spouse or friend or coworker, or partner, or business partner. But that's been a huge game changer for my wife and I. So yeah, thank you, Chris and Eric, for having me on. I'm open to any sort of questions anybody has for me. I appreciate the time. And Chris and Eric, if you have any questions, or anybody else, please throw them my way.
Woo, Josh. Now you guys see why this is such a special man, and how much you blessed us with, Josh, and like how much we learned from you. And there's no words, man. Thank you so much. So guys, can we just unmute really quick and just give Josh a round of applause?
Thank you.
So team, whoever has questions, let's open it up. And if you guys have questions for Josh.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes. So, I mean, let's get some good questions in.
I'm just going to say, hi, Josh, I'm Liz.
Hi.
I almost like got off the call because it was like too much for me. Like, I'm just being honest with you, because like I was dealing with like, some struggles within, and I have 4 fur kids. So we breed bulldogs, and Chris's schedule, my husband, his schedule is like crazy because he's in real estate.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like stuck at home, and I'm trying to outsource and getting like people to clean the house. And so I'm not dealing with all that stuff. And it's just been like dealing with my schedule, and then like building my online business. It's like, I almost like turned you off because it was like too vulnerable.
Yeah.
And deep. Like it was like deep, where I was like, okay, I have to, and then in your like cold shower, I was like, okay, like I got to keep with this. And then yesterday, Chris and Eric can tell you, when you're saying that, like, you have to get rid of like any of those negative things that you're listening to. So my parents were telling me, since I am questioning, like getting vaccinated, and I'm not sure about it, I'm hearing that, and they're saying that they don't want to be around me. So it's like a lot of negativity has been brought into my life. And it's like, and then I'm having, issues with Chris and I, but it's like more, it's so much deeper. And it's like, almost like you made me like basically take out the inner like grit and like vulnerability, and just like show me that like I need to get out of it. And yesterday I did something. I went downstairs, and I have a gym downstairs in my basement that I built. And
That's
I
awesome.
had these tap shoes. And Chris and Eric did something about, tapping your way through life. And I used to be I almost went to the Joffrey Ballet when I was younger. But I'm a tap dancer. Like, I was just very technically evolved in dance. And so I started tapping, and I posted it.
That's
and
awesome.
It was just like one of those things that, and I didn't realize how I still have it, and like it's still there, but it was like that, like it made me powerful.
That's awesome.
I did something that was so out of my norm, but so made me so passionate and happy that I just kept going with it. And I was just like, it was very impressive for me to just post something that I was like, I don't tell anyone. Everyone's like, I didn't know you danced.
That's awesome.
But thank you so much. Like, this was really a very powerful meeting, and very inspirational.
My pleasure. I'm happy to help. And can I say something to you, Liz?
Yeah.
one thing, my wife and I actually recently had a few hard conversations, and they were difficult. I was the one to bring up several of these things that I wanted to kind of bring to light because I knew there was just kind of this void building in our relationship. And one of the biggest things that I know to be true is that we have to bring those things to light. So in regards, and this is my 2 cents, you can take it or leave it, but I just wanted to say this since but one of the big things is just simply sharing that. You have to get it out in the open if you want real healing. You have to bring it to light. If there's an elephant in the room, you need to talk about the elephant. Otherwise, healing is not going to be able to take place. I guarantee you. Time does not heal all. Time usually just allows things to fester, and they typically will either stay the same or get worse. They usually never will get better. So I highly recommend just bring that to light, and there is definitely a time and place to do it, preferably when both of you are going to be at your best. Don't ever do it right before bed, or you're just going to drop a bomb and it's not going to work too well. But yeah, if you both can have some solitude and not get interrupted by kids or phone calls and such, but bring it to light if you're serious about really trying to make things better, would be my 2 cents.
I appreciate that. That's actually really helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's usually at night.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks for opening up, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
That. Who else has some questions? Who's got some burning questions?
Sean.
Yeah, man. Hey, Josh, dude, thank you for sharing this. It's like you were speaking directly to me.
That's awesome.
Everything from like doing anything from passion to being a father to bringing your wife on board to getting yourself going and moving forward, right? Failing forward. I really, there's a lot of questions that I have, and I'm trying to narrow it down to like the most important one, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that have it there. But hey,
real quick, Chris and Eric, can you please, whoever wants it, please give them my email. If there's something we can't get to today, I will happly answer any more questions you have.
We'll post that right now.
Yeah.
So
sorry, go on.
Yeah, and so a couple of things that came off right at the bat, like you were mentioning, I'm trying to remember here, like peak state of mind using Wim Hof, the 7 layers of emotions, right? Trying to get deep down into it. Is that I remember that from DeGrazio? I forget. Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
right?
Dean Graziosi.
Yeah.
I know he speaks about it. I don't think I first learned it from him though. I forget who it was. I mean, to be honest, a lot of these guys pulled their stuff from like Jim Rohn. Like he was kind of the OG with all this, and then you have like the Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosis, and it goes onward from there. But yeah.
So that leads me to my question. It's like, what are the top 2 books that you can recommend to learn more about practice how you're improving and your peak state of mind? So those are 2 points that you brought up. It's like practice how you're improving, be kinder, mindset, forgiveness, state of gratitude, right? The comparison is the thief of joy. Like, what is there like a reference that you can bring up for me to try to tap into more to read about, along with like another book aside from Wim Hof's Peak State of Mind, the affirmations, or trying to protect your mind from the negative thoughts? Do you have any of those?
One of my go-to favorites is an older one by Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. And that you're going to find just gem after gem in there related to what you're speaking of. And then, I mean, Dean Graziosi, Dean Graziosi's, I think it's Millionaire Habits book. That one's solid. Because that also has a lot of mindset stuff in there too. Yeah, I mean, another one that's not necessarily just mindset specific, and that's a little heavy, but can be kind of chopped up as much as you want, is Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. It's broken up into, Ben Franklin's idea of healthy, wealthy, and wise. And so you can kind of skip around or jump to pizzas or to people that resonate most with you, and you're going to find gems and be like, oh, that's great. Let me try that. Because that you can also, some of those chapters are going to be 2 to maybe 10 pages long. So they're not super hard to get through, and you can get a good couple nuggets out of each one, which is great. So those would probably be the top 2 as far as just like greatest kind of bang for your buck, where you're going to get a lot of good gems out of both. I would probably go with Tools of Titans and then Awaken the Giant Within.
Awesome, man. And then I'm sorry, I asked one more. You're a
Please.
father. You're a father. You're a husband. What's a go-to book for a father and a husband to improve your relationship, to be improving your fatherhood, improving everything about the family?
Yeah. I mean, I've been a Christian for a while, so my default answer is the Bible. But I mean, another thing is going to be, I mean, a big part is going to still, a big part is still going to be with your mindset, because it still heavily involves you.
Yeah.
You're the piece in those relationships with your kid and with your wife. So if you don't have yourself taken care of, if you don't have your own expectations, your own self-discipline, your own love, your own, health and stuff dialed in, taken care of, you're not going to do a great job parenting or with your spouse. It's like the old idea of put your mask on first before helping somebody else with their mask. Yeah, I'll have to chew on that and see if I can give you a better answer. But that's what I have right now. I'm sorry, Sean.
You gave me a lot of answers, bro. Thank you. I appreciate it. Like
Yeah,
I said,
my pleasure.
you from the very start, and everything you said resonates, and I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Chris and Eric, for bringing him on, because this was worth every penny I've already paid for this first one. So thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, let's do a couple more. Time for a couple more.
Okay. Hi. Thank you for your share. It was for your share. I'm using a different language. I really got a lot out of it. But the thing that I'm most curious about is I am in the middle of writing a book, and I'm in the middle of working on my business. And you've got a book. So how do you differentiate between I'm working, now I've got to work on this, now I've got to work on that? Because I find that what happens is I'm in the middle of the book and a notification comes up and it's a client and I've got to deal with the client right away. Or, I'm in the middle of trying to learn something from the guys, and my editor wants me to do something and I have to run off and do that. So I'm finding myself being pulled in different directions all the time. And I've tried, taking my book and block of time, but my brain's not working that way.
Mm-hmm.
So any tips on how to separate things out a little bit better?
Yes. I would recommend creating more clear boundaries. By that, I mean, it might be autoresponders, as far as if a client or somebody asks, and you can actually start, I'd like to use a different word, but for lack of vocabulary right now, you're basically going to retrain your clients or those that are reaching out to you at these specified times with an autoresponder, saying something to the effect of, hey, I'm working on a book right now, which is very top priority, and I'll be checking emails on Tuesday between this block of time and this block of time, or Thursday, this block of time and this block of time. Hypothetical, but something to that effect, where there's a response so they know very clearly, okay, he's unavailable right now, because people are going to treat you exactly how you let them treat you. So the one thing I've noticed, because I got clients that have these houses on the beach and there's 3-car garages and all this stuff, and guess what? They're not getting interrupted with our time together. they're treated exactly how they expect to be treated, essentially. I mean, they're very nice people and such, but
Yeah.
they're not bombarded by all these interruptions. And we're talking people that have over $1 million a month in overhead for one of their businesses. So this is like, there is definitely a way out. But that would be my suggestion, is just simply with an autoresponder for the email, or whatever it is through, if you're using Facebook or something like that, you can have that set up for you. And then I would definitely try to capture those ideas that you do have for your book as timely as possible. And it's okay. It's going to get a little messy probably, unless you always have one device or one notepad or something that you're capturing all of that on. But as long as you're capturing, that's the big part. And then, you know, how you are doing with the time blocking. One thing that really worked for me, because I struggled with that too, was I would, if I couldn't do a full day of just the book, then it would be like afternoon for this, and then the morning would be for that, vice versa. But yeah, a big part is trying to minimize those distractions and interruptions. And then when the ideas do come up for the book, and so just making sure that you're capturing and being able to actually do something with that to move forward with that. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Clarity.
Yes.
All right, team, one more. Let's go one more.
Say something. So I sent Walter a message on Facebook, because we don't have, but my very best friend has, she's writing a book right now, and she's doing Remarkable too. So like, it's a tablet, but it's a notebook. And so if you're sending it to like your publicist or whomever, and they want to go over what you went through today, and you're like literally, and it doesn't connect to the internet, so you're not distracted. So it's called Remarkable 2. I sent it to, so Google it or whatever. And it's basically, you know, or like you brainstorm on this little tablet. It's like an iPad, but you have a pen, but it's not connected to the internet. And you're doing that, and it converts to text. And one of my best friends is writing a book on HR, and she swears by it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I thought I would share. Thank you.
All right, team. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. And again, man, like this was so good, guys. It really, really was. So I appreciate you guys, taking time to be able to show up here and just, consume it, ask the questions, and we'll have this replay up in 24 hours, and we'll put this on a SoundCloud audio as well too, which I highly encourage you guys to listen to this audio version while you're driving, at the gym, whatever it is, because just listening to this once isn't going to be enough. You guys got to listen to this again and let it consume and take some notes and really take all the action steps for this. Okay. Trust me, we've worked with Josh for over a year, so we know what it takes. So guys, much, much love. Josh, thank you so much, man. I truly appreciate you, man, just for everything, for just like you've done for us, and then what you've done for the community as well too. I truly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Anytime, fellas.
All right, guys, let's unmute one last time and say, Josh, you demand.
You demand.
Josh, you the man.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a good night, team.
Night.
You too.